Hello, viewers. I'm SB.
And I'm Amabel.
Yep, it's not going to catch it if you do that. And welcome back to Amabel Audits Civ 7, it's the exploration age. And hey, I noticed something kind of weird. We have
Yeah.
just like a handful of military units here, a smattering, if you will. We have some of our unique ranged unit, which is, cool or whatever. I don't know that a sling is necessarily the weapon you want to be using at this moment in history. We also have some swordsmen. And Amabel, do you notice anything sort of curious about these swordsmen?
Yeah, those aren't
Not a
swords.
single one of them is wielding a sword. Civilization, it's so easy if instead of like coming up with ideas, you just go, I don't know, it's history. It was just a lot of identical looking people with pikes. You at least have to draw the right weapons.
I mean, this is one thing and again, this is me getting back onto my bullshit.
Do it. I love it.
Uh, but like one of the reasons why people do games about warfare in earlier eras, with like different cultures is to compare techniques and weapon systems and training and the way troops are raised and mustered and all this kind of stuff. And if you just kind of treat everyone as like everyone has a swordsman, everyone has a cavalry person, and they all act basically the same, they all function the same. Um, that doesn't get, it just flattens everything out, and that's what's the point. What is the point?
What is the point, indeed? I'm gonna make a diplomatic move here. I want to make sure Augustus stays on our good side, or we stay on his good side, because the way his country sort of runs through the middle of ours, I think it would be a huge pain in the ass if he went to war with us. He likes us well enough. We have a relationship bonus from having had a positive relationship in the previous age. Is the very simple way that they handle that. They don't carry over the actual relations. It's just at the end of the age, if they liked you, you get a bonus or a malus.
Can I tell you
You can, I mean,
that?
sure. I can't stop you.
So here's the thing with that Augustus.
Yeah.
Is in my brain when I hear about Augustus, when I see Augustus, I hear whatever. I immediately go to Brian Blessed playing Augustus, and I feel like this game would be improved if Brian Blessed or a Brian Blessed impersonator was doing the voice of Augustus.
I don't know that that's a very interesting thing to say, in the sense that, isn't that true of every game? Wouldn't we always be doing better if Brian Blessed were around? As far as I know, Total War Warhammer is the only game to have really come through on that idea.
Oh, was Brian Blessed in that?
Yeah. Eventually they got him to play. When they included Felix and Gotrek in the games, he's voicing Felix. I don't remember which one, but I know he's one of them.
I don't know who that is. I know
know you
almost
don't.
nothing about these. Yeah.
Don't worry, it's coming.
All I know about Total War Warhammer
Not a 4X, but adjacent enough that we do have to talk about it. So we'll get there.
is that the game with the wheel?
That is a game with a wheel.
No, but like the wheel. The blood wheel.
No, that is not the game where the blood wheel
Okay.
revealed its glory to us.
Okay.
That is not the game where the blood wheel united us all in shame and terror.
I don't know. I don't know all the deep lore. I'm a fake fan.
You've been here less time than the blood wheel has. So, all right. Yeah, we're just kind of let's talk about the game, huh?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like moving
yeah.
our forces around. I'm gonna put up basically our big military force in Ravenna. I think the only realistic military threat right now is Harriet Tubman deciding to go off on us for no reason, because as much as Ibn Battuta doesn't like us, he's also kept away from us by a pretty dense set of other people's cities. So
The sentences you say while playing this game just really encapsulate all the problems I have with this game.
So we're going to form up a little military here. All right, so three non-swordsmen and an archer for the one front. Ostia is going to have a sort of a little backup garrison because, in theory, if Harriet Tubman were to attack us, she could bring a force down the west side here. Although I would imagine that troops coming down this side would probably end up getting munched up by Caesar pretty quickly. At least I would hope. So we're going to fortify, and we're going to send our ships out to sea. Now, in this game, I just started the exploration age in my my personal game, the one that I'm playing solo on the channel. And in that one, I had to do a little bit of guesswork. There were lots of places where it was not clear where exactly there would be distant lands. Here, there's a lot of spots where we can see, like, across one tile of ocean, hey, look, there's coast. So this is going to be some very easy exploration. We're doing the same thing on this side. We can see some obvious, like, coastal reefs and stuff.
Now, you said in the earlier episode that this phase of the game is traditionally your favorite part.
Yeah, I love when I get to this part of the game. And in fact, I often play the game in such a way as to, like, try to force it as early as possible. One of my favorite things in a game of Civ is figuring out a sneaky way to get to a landmass before the other players do, and getting to sort of, like, you know, explore and exploit myself without any interference, getting pick of all the cool tiles.
And is that kind of the appeal of this phase of the game for you?
I sure do love to, like, explore a place with a whole bunch of tiles and be like, ooh, look at those clusters of resources, look at those ones, and figure out the ones where it's like that's the best resources for building a town or whatever. I know that sounds crazy. I'm aware of it, but that's the who I am. That's who you married. I don't know. I just really like that part.
Okay. I am now imagining, like, Augustus and Machiavelli at a farmer's market. like with the little stalls and booths and artisanal breads.
So scouts have a couple of interesting actions here.
Okay.
That allow them to increase their sight range by 1, or increase sight range +1 for 1 turn and reveal all discoveries within twice this range. I'm not actually sure what the difference is between the functions of these buttons, because it sounds like they do the same thing. But one of them is strictly better than the other one. I'm assuming one of them, like, eats up multiple turns or something. I don't know. We'll see. But we're not able to bring the scouts across the deep water until cartography's finished. So I'm going to try to just use his power on this, like, little outcropping here and see what we can see. Scouts are not military units, so this is the thing we haven't really talked about, and I guess, like, I assume most of my viewers are familiar with the idea, but you really aren't that familiar with Civ, so maybe you don't know. Units have different sort of, like, broad classifications that they belong to, and you can tell a unit's classification by the shape of its, like, flag.
Okay. I remember that from something similar to that in Civ 6, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a system that Civ has used for a while. So you can see military units have this sort of, like, banner shape, right? It's like a square with a triangle on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
The scout, you will notice, is just a square. So scouts are support units, not military units. And as such, the bonus of cartography here, all civilian and support units may enter deep ocean, allows them to travel. I think there's support and not civilian. That also, this also would allow, like, not mercenaries, missionaries or merchants or whatever across. Generally speaking, a unit cannot be in the same tile as another unit of its type, except with special stuff like this commander compressing. But you can like have a military unit with a support unit and a civilian unit all gathered together in the same tile for the purposes of like allowing warriors to escort settlers and stuff like that.
Okay.
It is, I think, a good system. All right, another leader has started. Oh yes, we know that. We just agreed to an endeavor last turn, so we know that there is an endeavor. Let's run up to here. Our scouts actually have really good sight range already. This unique scout has a bonus sight tile by default, so we're getting a lot of information here very quickly. So you can see there are resources and stuff. You're seeing a lot of the same resources over there as over here. And we're starting to we're finishing our initial builds here. So the bazaar is not an ageless building. It's not as critical, but like obviously money's good. I guess there's a question as to whether we should like prepare for a fight a little bit more. But I'm gonna make us some money here. Let's build some stuff up. So
Also will help you recruit streamer units.
Which, as everyone knows, are critical to the survival of a civilization.
It turns out in the last era that instead of rock bands, they have streamers and influencers that go out and spread culture.
Well, that's ridiculous. I've never gone out and done anything.
That's true. I love you.
All right, so we're starting to get our first little visions of the outside world here. Oh, the Alfonso River is flooded, creating bonus resources on some of the tiles. Devastated the area as never seen before. So I would like to note that the mouse over for this kind of event in Civ 6 gives you detailed information on the number of tiles that gain fertility, the number of tiles where things were damaged, and so on. This one just says devastated the area. Is my stuff okay? If my stuff's okay, then what the fuck do you mean by devastated the area as never before? These tiles sure are brown. I guess it's just if I had built in the fishing boats we had in this tile are damaged. The other thing is like everything in Civ is so devoted to like trying to look like kind of a real thing, sort of, if you zoom in, that at this level the damage is completely unreadable.
Yeah.
Just give me some damn indicators. It's a video game. We've discovered a new continent. Our explorer is naming it Cimmeria. I feel like you should get to name them. I feel like the player should get to name them.
Yeah. You know what's weird about these games?
Everything.
The resource of production.
Okay, sure. Ooh.
That's
a coastal edifice.
Like food as a resource, I understand. Production, like the tiles give you +1 production, like is it the stuff you use, the means of production as it were? Is it the labor? It's kind of both.
So yeah,
How
like
does
to
flooding increase labor?
It's generally the tiles that have like stone or lumber on them. So they kind of mean like material resources, as opposed to a tile which is grasslands, where if you wanted to build stuff on it, you would have to go get the stuff and bring it back. I guess.
Okay. I don't know. It just strikes me as I'm not trying to be pedantic or literal about it necessarily, because all these things are kind of squishy and metaphorical, whatever kind of game you're doing. But just production is a weird. I guess it's not any weirder than culture or science.
So we've not seen any actual treasure resources yet. But I'm going to go ahead and buy a settler right now, because we're going to be finished with the tech that allows them to cross the deep water in 4 turns, and I want to be ready to move across the moment that happens. Oh, the Belize River also flooding like crazy. It's weird that there's no sound for that.
Yeah.
So our plantation was not damaged. Damage appears to be light. Okay. Cool, I guess. Good. All right, making sure to expand out and grab these resources before Augustus can. And then this is a wonder here. We should pick up a thing, big fancy thing. We could change the focus of this town. I don't know that I want to. I think I want it to keep growing. Like we're gonna. The plan is to turn most of these towns into cities eventually, probably, right?
I would assume so.
It is nice to have access to the real production queue. And oh, here we go. Okay, so certain resources, when you find them off of the main continent, are treasure resources. They just create treasure fleets when connected to a coastal settlement. This is the good shit. This is what we were looking for. We discovered an independent... Okay, Amabel, help me out here. What's the origin of the word pagan? Did we get that from a people? Was that the name of a people? Pagan of the pagan people?
That's a good question that I used to know the answer of, but I don't anymore.
All right, I'm going to try to befriend these pagan people. Because I don't want to have to deal with them picking at our settlements forever.
Okay, so it comes from the Latin word paganus, meaning rural or rustic.
Okay.
So the idea of it being used meant that, oh, look at these peasants,
these backwards
simple
folks.
people. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not really an ethnological.
I'm a little surprised to see it.
A little weird.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see it being used as the name of a group of independent people. A famed sculptor has discovered a superior method of gathering clay from the seabed. We encountered a coastal edifice, and this is the result. By reshaping the earth, they mold effigies that express human pain, joy, and triumph. So we can sell the largest sculptures they've created for money, or we can study under the master to gain culture and happiness. So I got this event in the last episode I recorded of my solo game too. And this is one I find is it's totally baffling to me. Who is studying under the master? Is it immortal Niccolo Machiavelli, the god of who are we and what do we represent and what does any of this shit mean?
Discovery choice.
Yeah, which one of these would be most geographic? I don't know. I feel like we need a bunch of money. I want to buy another settler soon, so. Which one of these would be most geographic? It's a cutting insult. All right, I think we're good here. So we did find another bunch of resource tiles over here, but still nothing that counts as a treasure resource. So these are just, we would build on them as normal. So not a super pressing reason to get a settler going on this side of the continent just yet. Wow, that's a lot of Kowlin. And there's a little tent city over here. I will give them this. I really do like the environment graphics and stuff. This shit looks good. The little buildings and stuff, they look really cool. A man wants to start a cultural exchange. I'm into it. We each do our individual cultural hand jives. And lo, an accord is struck. So we're doing this build over thing, right? I'm building over our blacksmith to put this building down in this quarter. And it's building over is not super meaningful by itself. The building is not providing us any direct benefit at this point, is my understanding. So we're just kind of Why not? We're just preserving space. And I'm harassing the pagan peoples from my boat. Soon they will love us. Until then, we will murder them. Deeply bizarre that this system and the system where you shoot arrows at them until they die don't touch each other or cross over at all.
There are so many. So I feel like I I feel like it's safe to say that I am kind of have become a Civ hater, as it were, in the internet sense.
Yeah.
But like so much of
Junior
this,
division. You're no Kendrick Lamar, but you're learning.
so much of this is so weird, and not in the way I usually mean the word weird, which is a good thing.
We've discovered a scout from Muarajambi. Okay. A non-hostile scout. Notice. Friendly. What's it like to have friendly people? So I'm trying to keep like a loose eye on the situation around here. We don't really have very good vision into her territory, owing in part to there being a lot of like mountains and hills. And sadly, mountains and hills that she has gotten on her side of the border, which is a little frustrating because we could build on them otherwise. So I can't really see if she has troops.
Mm-hmm.
So for right now, I'm kind of just ignoring developments on the home front. Like, this continent's fine. We worked it out already.
The map was a model for, rather than a model of, what it purported to represent.
Oh, if only the people who made Civ thought about what that quote meant for like a couple of minutes. What is this man expressing? The Colosseum looms large in the landscape, an awe-inspiring reminder of the games of old. These days, artisans petition to use the space for their vast workshops, but displaced communities are already sheltering within its vaults. So we can make the tile give +2 production by repurposing it for workshops, or +2 happiness by transforming it into residential space. So they've really like crammed down, right? Civ has a number of different concepts mechanically that are expressed via the idea of housing and the things that religious buildings do, where they give you sometimes culture, but sometimes faith and what faith does for you and all this stuff. They've really jammed all of those ideas now down into happiness, to the point where building more houses and building more churches is mechanically the same, right? It does the same thing. And I don't like that very much, I guess is all I have to say. That, like, aside from that being an oversimplification in all the ways that we're always talking about, I find that would really grates for me, because of my personal traumatic experiences with organized religion.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm right there with you.
If we were doing a thing in the real world, obviously I'd prefer homes for people are more important, but happiness is so much less valuable of a resource than production that I'd be surprised if anyone ever clicked this button ever. And that's a way they're making an argument that they believe in via the systems that they have designed, and that sure is something. That sure is a thing they're allowed to do.
I mean, here's the thing. Something that I think Endless Space has done pretty okay, is the kind of thing where you're incentivized to choose imperialism, but they also kind of try to make you feel bad about it.
Yeah, they at least give that a texture.
Yeah, I feel like you could do that with more bite. I feel like you could do a game where you have this choice between homes and production, and then put a little more bite behind the production choice. And I would respect that a little bit more than the kind of, frankly, like, mealy-mouthed. No commentary kind of thing, This is what I was starting to say, like stuff between like the geographic choice, the uh, the narrative events, the narrative choices. I I really feel like you could do so much more with it
Yeah.
than they are choosing to do, and I I don't think those elements are used in a very thoughtful way. It's kind of like roll and move.
Okay.
I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha.
I'm sure that's exactly how they chant it. So we've gained access to the temple now. And with it, the ability to do religion.
Yeah, that's
Shall
how
we make a temple somewhere to pursue some religion?
Sure.
I do think we should get these terrace farms, because, like, obviously, additional farmland is very good and powerful. All right, it would take us 7 turns to build a temple down here. We are not super productive. We can buy a temple. Yeah, but I kind of want to save. We should build it, because I think I want to save our gold for turning one of the. I want to save our gold for turning one of the new towns that we're going to found on the new landmass into a city relatively quickly,
Okay.
so that we can get access to a real production queue over there. Especially since we're going to have to build all of our military units. Since we can't
That makes
move
sense.
military units across the deep water for quite some time.
So roll and move like gets a bad reputation for
Yes.
being like a really clunky, bad mechanism in board games, but like it can be used in a very expressive way and very artful ways. Just often it isn't,
Mhm.
and it's frustrating to me when people, when it's just used the way it's used, like in a lot of mass market games, for example, and I feel like again, some of these mechanical arguments.
Hey, we discovered Asia.
Some of these mechanical arguments could be used in a much more effective and expressive ways if the if they had the courage, the conviction to actually want to make a point and not be utterly terrified of making a point.
And in doing so, like, making a pretty powerful and pointed point.
In and of itself,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, we met a new civilization. Check it out. It's a cog belonging to. Belonging to. He'll load in. Here he is.
Citoyen Lafayette, s'il vous plaît.
So there are people out on the distant. There are people indigenous to these distant lands.
Mm-hmm.
There are other players who have been in this game the whole time, but we haven't been able to meet them until now. And now we've met one. It's Citizen Lafayette. Here, have a small amount of influence. And again, we do our individual cultural hand jives. So Lafayette loves the situation with the most quarters, dislikes the one with the fewest quarters. I feel like we've been doing a lot of quarter building. Probably will be okay. Then again, the AI do build cities like pretty densely, so who knows? Do you do you want to express something, Amabel?
The Marquis de Lafayette
Yeah.
was a formative figure in 3 separate revolutions, overthrowing government. What kind of government does he have? Is it a fucking monarchy? Because that should not be right.
Let's see here. Right now, my man is a feudal monarch.
What? No, that's
Amabel, he's not the historical, like...
I know, but it makes me so mad. It makes me so very much mad.
Okay, well, you might have to deal. It's just the
trying.
way it is, you know? All right, so here we definitely want to be reaching out for some
They don't have Lenin in the game. Why a revolution? Che Guevara is not a leader in the game. You can't have a professional revolutionary, as the leader as the god, as the.
Well, you can like really easily actually. Here's the thing about that is you can, and it's very easy to do it. How you doing there, baby? You holding together?
No, I'm not. It's
Okay.
just.
Again, it's
like,
like none of
why am I surprised?
the words or names or anything mean any of the things that they mean, right? It's all just history
A
words.
vapor like an oven's fire boiled up for days from the
Okay, I hold on. I don't have time for you right now. I'm sorry, Gwendolyn. They're all just history words, right? We found a sick wonder, and you just got to be down with that. You just have to be willing to accept that you're running into a bunch of effectively, fantasy or science fiction shit, and it's got the names of things you recognize on it to make you go, if you're not very smart, if you're not very learned about the history of your world, to make you go, ah, yes, I feel the warmth of recognition.
This
Or
kind
if
of
you are
Tiffany
knowledgeable
problem.
about the history of your world, to make you angry.
This is kind of like the Tiffany problem, where like
The dog?
no, Tiffany the dog is not a problem.
No, that's what I was going to say. I don't know what you're talking about. She's a very good girl.
The Tiffany problem, which I think we talked about before, is that Tiffany was a very common medieval name.
Yes.
But if you put it in a fantasy book, people think it's ridiculous. And this is kind of like the reverse, because it's people actually putting stuff that does not fit, jamming it together to make me angry specifically.
I doubt they were targeting you specifically.
Oh.
Look at all the happiness our temples are going to bring. Rumors abound that
That's
Hawaiian
not how
Rumors abound that Hawaiian technology is decades ahead of the rest of the world's. Okay, I agree with you. I should increase my science output. That's all he really wanted to say was, hey, make more science.
Actually, so this is a question I meant to ask before. 'Cause I don't know if I missed it, but like, how does winning the game work? Because you have in each.
Yeah, so you have these legacy paths, right?
Yeah.
My understanding is that in the final era, you will you have legacy paths, and at the end of each legacy path is a win the game. Like a thing, it unlocks a thing you can build to win the game. Like when you get to the end of your faction quest in Endless Legend, then it's like now you can build the wonder that ends the world. Do we want to settle right here? I mean, there's the two treasure things that are right here. Part of me wants to explore a little bit more, but another part of me, like, this is an uncovered settler, right? We can't. This unit cannot defend itself at all against anything. I think we probably ought to just make it happen. We'll figure it out. So obviously, grab the treasure resource. So here's how this bit works. I don't love the way this is presented, but what they actually want you to do is you have to build a settlement on the non-initial continent. You have to build a shipping connection building in that settlement. Then you have to research shipbuilding. Once you have researched shipbuilding, you will start generating treasure fleets in every city that has treasure resources that has its shipping connection building. Shipbuilding is the thing that actually ticks you over. And they are not super clear about that at all here.
Okay.
Like it is one of the checkboxes, but like it's not mentioned in the text or anything. And there are checkboxes in like the descriptions of the previous ages stuff that are not necessary. It's not I think a super well explained system, but the shipbuilding technology is the thing that will kick us over into actually producing treasure fleets. So for the moment, I'm going to have this cog just kind of hang out and defend Machu Picchu. We can't get proper military units over here just yet. I am going to, like I said, convert this to a real city as quickly as possible, and that's a thing we'll be able to do next turn. We'll build some stuff. We'll buy some buildings. You know.
Can I ask you a question about the structure of the previous Civ games?
Sure.
Because, so you're pursuing these victory conditions and whatnot, and a
Hey.
game of Civ.
We met more indigenous peoples.
Friedrich II. Hocherfreut, euch kennenzulernen. Ich bin ein Engel im Salon, aber ein Teufel auf dem Schlachtfeld.
Same. Also, have you seen my pants? Check this shit out.
Cool, he's advertising my game. So, two problems here.
Okay.
With this Frederick, the
Friedrich
Great Frederick
Oblique.
II. Yeah.
So there might be more than one Friedrich. There might be more than like one representation of this character, given the way he's named here.
Okay, that makes sense. Because first of all, and maybe this is corrected with other versions. First of all, I don't think he's gay enough. Okay.
Well, okay, hold on a second now. As far as the Civ people are concerned, they're the kind of place he is trying to denounce us. So this is a funny thing. He has to pay influence to denounce us to reduce our relationship number. There's a number that represents how he feels about us. He would like that to be lower. And you would think that would be a thing he could do with his brain, where he could be like, hey, I don't like that person. But actually what it is he has to ask us. And if I say no and pay some influence, then his opinion of us can't decline. Because that's how that works. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to let him go ahead and feel bad about us. All yours, buddy. You enjoy that. Because I'm saving my influence for something. Ooh, okay, so Harriet Tubman's trying to do the same thing. This is more dangerous. This I think I will reject. No, you're not allowed to have negative feelings about me. That's how influence works. Sorry. If you wanted to have your own autonomy, she said to Harriet Tubman and then trailed off.
Yeah. Okay, what were you saying?
I get what they're going for. It's good to include leaders of. I'm not upset about Harriet Tubman being in the game, but I am upset about Harriet Tubman being in this game, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
In the sense that I don't think it's dignified to include.
No, it's not. It's
Harriet Tubman is the one being disgraced here.
Yeah. Okay, but before we got interrupted by someone daring to want to like you less.
Yeah. Who would?
You were saying that something about Frederick, because I've said that he wasn't. I don't feel like he's.
Oh yeah, like the
enough.
Phyrexis is absolutely the kind of outfit, right, where they have to tell you. Until recently, they would have felt that they had to tell you that they're totally down with gay people, but they're not going to They're only going to represent that in a very safe corporate way, right? You're not going to see a lot of interesting expression of queerness in a game like this.
We're not going to have Gwendolyn Christie read Frederick's famous line, "My hemorrhoids Greek your cock." That's not gonna. That'd be funny though. That'd be really funny. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, honestly, there is something I think to be said for a sort of like a Civ that is sort of playing against type in a way, where it is using all real historical information and stuff, but just crafting the opposite picture of this sort of like dry, boring prestige vibe that they are usually going for. I'd be curious to see a thing like that.
The other thing is that quite famously is not what Frederick the Great looks like. Like even they do their cartoon kind of thing, but like almost every painting we have of Frederick the Great, with like one exception, isn't actually him. It's what he wanted to look like, and he
Oh.
was the king. So you did it
Yeah, sure. That's
because
interesting.
he was like famously a very unattractive man.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and like I mean I don't expect them to get that thing right because again, like you said, this isn't history. It's very Diana Warrior Princess, but I don't know. Frederick the Great is someone I know stuff about, so like that also is gonna like Lafayette. Like this game this game of Civ specifically is designed to maybe go
I do love it when you do that. It's a very fun noise.
ah.
All right, yeah, so kind of not a lot going on unless somebody actually does make a move on us militarily here. We're just kind of
Yeah, it does feel kind
slowly
of
pushing along.
soupy a little bit,
Oh,
not
boy.
to the same degree.
Are
And
these all? No, okay. There's another hostile village nearby. Okay, so
I
one thing I
suppose-
think we desperately need to do is purchase another real military unit. We need to, as soon
Okay.
as we have the money to do that, probably we need to get on that. They have gone and stood on the tile I was building on, so I can't keep building on it. Bunch of assholes.
that is rude.
Fine, I'll build here. Oh no, our operatives report that Harriet Tubman has established a settlement of Hilo in distant lands. That's true, she has. That's not a useful place to do that, really. I mean, it gets her a bunch of copies of this resource, which is not nothing. But I'm out here looking for treasure resources personally. Hilo? It's hard to say. I'm disinclined to call it Hilo initially because of the fact that when I think of a settlement named Hilo, I think of Dragonlance, and I think they're probably not trying to evoke, that sort of thing.
Now, would this be better if instead of these leaders they had fictional characters?
Yeah. It would fix so many of the problems of tone and stuff with the game if they would just chill out on the pretending to be history thing. So this town does need to keep expanding. But our border is running up against the border of our other cities, so we're not allowing Caesar a place to expand out. I guess if I do this, yeah, then we have a contiguous border across all our cities, which is probably of some value. Let's reach out here and grab some more. Yeah, it might be really good for us to get some cavalry, honestly. So we do have like a pretty basic cav unit. It certainly is better than the swordsman, although not very much. Sorry, I need to actually build something here. We can't ship military units across yet, so probably just like focus on growth for the moment. Amabel, we finished a temple. The time has come to create a religion.
Oh boy.
With the temple complete, the Incan people can found a religion. Similar to pantheons, religions can boost various parts of your civilization based on the beliefs you choose. More beliefs can be unlocked via the civics tree. Your reliquary belief will determine how you earn relics. And remember, the whole culture legacy path here is based on gaining and displaying relics. So that's one of the most important things.
Remember that.
So here's all the choices. We're allowed to pick an icon for our religion. If we pick a icon that's associated with the real religion, we have to use the real name. If we pick one that's not, we get to name our religion. What do you think? What do you want?
Oh. Gosh. I don't know. Which one is the most theologic choice?
Well, Machiavelli famously is like a scorpion.
Yeah.
But
Is there a crab? We had a crab god last time.
I mean, there is a big crab.
Okay. Well, that's going to be it, obviously.
Okay, so canonically, giant crab time is the religion that I often make in these games. I will express some disappointment with this icon not being orange, which is why I started making giant crab time in the first time, because I just picked the orangest icon. But whatever, giant crab time is fine.
That makes sense for you.
Giant crab time's always good. So our reliquary belief. So most of these are, you earn relics when converting a city with some particular qualification. First time conversion of a city-state, first time conversion of another civilization's capital, first time conversion of another civilization's settlement that has its own temple or altar, stuff like this. So I don't know. Evangelism seems like a pretty easy way to get relics,
Yeah.
but it's not a fast way to get relics. I'd be inclined to take it anyway. It seems very easy and solid. And then the founder beliefs give you bonuses for converting other players' settlements, or rather, give you bonuses for having converted other players' settlements.
Okay.
All of these are just bonus for every foreign settlement following your religion, and bigger bonuses for more narrow definitions of which kinds of settlements it counts. So like you can have +4 science for every foreign settlement following your religion, or +8 culture, gold, and science for every tile that has a natural wonder in other civilization settlements that are following your religion. And so, and so on. And it's all just versions of that. There is no benefit or mechanical reason at all to have your own cities follow your religion. It accomplishes nothing. Except that I guess it prevents other players from getting founder beliefs from having your stuff converted. I do think that's a little strange.
I do like the idea of them using religion as like a different way to expand, like a different layer of control and influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think all this stuff kind of sucks, though, the way it's implemented.
Well, I mean, religion's always expressed as a kind of control and influence, but it's a thing that you like, a kind of thing you don't use to control or influence your people at all. Strikes me as a very strange way to regard it historically.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
For generations, priests have safeguarded a burial shroud once belonging to a great prophet. The people demand the veil be displayed for all to venerate, but the priests believe the relic's safety is key to the land's prosperity. So we can say traditions must be preserved, and nothing will generate more culture than not letting people see a shroud. Or we can reveal the shroud, and then we have a relic on display.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
No, because having those kind of things displayed is exactly how the church exerted. I'm talking specifically about the Catholic Church, exerted its power over people and raised money. Relics were big money makers. So no one who actually has access to those things think that it's not a thing that has a material purpose. No one would be arguing. No one would be arguing.
Keep in mind, the argument that the priests here are making is that the shroud being kept safe is critical to the material success and survival of your empire. So, like, they legitimately believe in the magical powers of this thing.
But that's not how the world. That's not how it actually works in the world.
Well, right, yeah. Obviously, the people in charge of the Catholic Church don't.
And they never.
Let's be gentle here. Try to provoke as little bullshit in the comments as possible, and say, don't behave in a way that comports with an honest belief in the thing that they claim to believe. Oh, I do believe that Harriet Tubman has declared war on us.
If I can't change your heart, I suppose I'm gonna have to take you out of the way.
She has a gun. That seems unfair. I don't have a gun. All right, well, let's fight then, Harriet. She's got bows and a leomano, which is something. Problem. They have some hats on.
Why
What are
is this
you?
breaking my
What is
brain
that?
so much more than the Civ 6 one did?
That's a great question. +3 combat strength against infantry and cavalry, receives culture from defeating enemy units. Okay, so 35 melee strength, same as a swordsman, but better against infantry and cavalry. Okay, so you want to shoot them a lot with arrows, but that was the plan anyway. Do I think we're going to see units coming down from Kopan? Maybe. We're definitely going to want to move this army. So we're about to finish researching astronomy, and then we can transfer into some sort of more military type thing. Let's also have a look at this. Our war with Harriet Tubman. So currently, shoot, how do I get it to describe this system? Your support in this war is causing a penalty to Harriet Tubman's happiness in their settlements and a combat penalty when fighting your units. So there's this weird tug of war meter that doesn't explain itself as well as I would like. Where like there's somebody has more support than the other person does. And what they mean by support is really foggy and murky, because you can just pay influence to add war support yourself, and that causes more war weariness for the other side. But it's not clear to me what, like, I guess we're propagandizing their troops is the idea.
Yeah, no,
But it's not clear to me where the initial +4 comes from here, because it's not usually like that. I've never seen a war start with 4 points on one side, and I'm not sure why this one does, and I wish that was a little bit better explained.
Yeah.
Like I literally don't know how to find out why that value is what it is.
You know, the idea of a tug of war track like that, you know, like I've seen it before, and it's fine. Like it's showing like momentum, showing like support at home, the national will to fight.
Yeah. But it's directly affecting the combat strength of the soldiers.
Yeah. Like okay, so like that's a good system in theory, but the thing where you just buy support doesn't. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, part of it's wrapped up in the fact that the influence system is so vague. Like we don't really know what influence means. So you now have the ability to train the missionary, which can spread hot.
Hot?
Yeah, I got this message in my other game as well. I have no idea what it means. The fact that hot is in bold makes me think that it's maybe like a placeholder, like it's supposed to be.
Oh,
like maybe they string buildered here, and like this is supposed to be the name of your religion.
Actually, sweetie, I understand this. So when you do missionary, you end up spreading hot.
The person on the bottom, yeah. It might be that like all missionaries are just really into Chapel Roan. I don't know. Anyway, I guess let's make some military units or something. Warakak. Okay, +5 combat strength when attacking from rough terrain. Has bonus movement. Yeah. We'll build some military units. Fortunately, we're pretty productive here in the capital, and we are well positioned to be able to build some combat units.
So this is the episode of the audit where we're spending in the exploration age.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is next episode to skip to like the transition point again.
Yes, yeah.
So I suppose I should ask you, as we're, in the middle of this.
I'm gonna buy one of these here too, actually.
How do you enjoy this implementation of this phase of the game? that traditionally you have liked before?
I think like it has some of the stuff that I like. It has the hey, you look around and find a cool place to put your city, and you get some new materials and whatever. Like the elements that I like are still kind of here to some extent. I do think that we talked before about how like a lot of their decisions seem to be designed to a lot of their decisions in Civ 7 in general seem to be designed to take kinds of gameplay or like I don't know what I want to say here, like gameplay paradigms. They tend to the ways that you would think about and behave during the game that were sort of emergent properties of the systems, and make them like hard code them as much as possible. Right? Because the fact is the AI can't deal with, they're just not interested in developing good AI. So for one thing, simplifying the game tremendously can make the AI a little bit more competitive at it. For another thing, I'm not going to try to, I guess it's probably not super productive to try to guess at all the reasons, but that's what they're doing, right? They're hard coding as much of it as possible, turning it into explicit scoreboards as much as they can. I think in doing so, every time they try to make the mechanics more sensible as mechanics, they butt up harder and harder against the fake history bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Civ 7 feels a lot worse to play in a lot of ways because the entire experience of it is that friction. It is just constant, and it's so annoying.
So let me ask you about this hard coding, about like the structure of the game. I tried to say this before, but then we got onto something else. So, you know, presuming victory conditions in previous versions of Civ, you know, generally there's a point in the game that's kind of the end game, but when that end game happens can kind of shift, right? You could have an earlier victory in Civ 5. That's not really possible here, is it? Like a victory is at the end of the third era, is what we're...
Okay, this I'm less concerned about. He has no way to get to us, but just being at war with him is giving us -1 war weariness for no reason, despite the fact that he is less than 0 threat to us. Hey, buddy. How do we get a formal alliance going? Because we've had that in previous age. There's a button for it, form alliance. He accepts my form alliance action. Okay, so out of curiosity,
What a beautiful bit of text they use to
hey Amabel, there are no pages. There are no pages that have the word alliance on them in the entire Civilopedia. All right. Well, Augustus has declared war on Ibn Battuta. That's good. He'll probably also fight Harriet Tubman. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. So I'm sorry, you were asking something, and then a war were declared.
So like about like the, because you're less concerned with the history other than when it annoys you.
Yeah.
And more concerned with the game as a ludic object, as the dynamic push and pull of different victory conditions, and the game having its end phase hard coded in that third era. Is that just formalizing what it usually is during the course of the game, or is it kind of constraining the elasticity of when the game can end, the shape of a game can take?
Well, so like the problem with trying to compare them directly is that the lack of hard coding in the previous games meant that while those sort of like those rough eras occurred for most players, they would occur at different times from other players in that same game, right? And even on Deity, if you're reasonably competent at Civ 6 or Civ 5, and you're just like pushing for a hard internal science victory with one of the science civs, one of the civs that's good at that, you are
Yeah.
probably hitting your end of last era, doing the end of last era stuff, which is to say, satellites or whatever, in 1300 AD, when there are other players who are the middle of the exploration age, or frankly, given how bad the AI is at the game, maybe not that developed. So, it's
Okay.
I don't feel like I can answer the question as you asked it, because it's not quite the way things work.
It's apples and oranges. Yeah.
Yeah, but, everybody's going through the eras still exist. Everybody's going through them, but in a pretty desynced way.
So do you find this? I was going to ask, do you find this approach less interesting? But I feel like the answer is probably yes. As like a ludic thing, as like a gameplay, game state thing.
Yeah, I think this is yes. Yeah, I think this is worse. And I don't think it's like. I think it was worth a shot.
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen. Oh, go ahead.
I think it was worth a shot from a game design and development standpoint. I don't necessarily think it's worth then putting that shot out. And I recognize that that's this should be a thing where they internally they tried this and they built it out and they iterated on it a couple of times. And they were like, this is not solving our problems. And in fact, it's heightening some of our contradiction based problems. Economically, because of the realities of the system under which the game is made, that's not an option that they have, right? They can't do 4 years of work or whatever, or obviously the final product here doesn't necessarily feel like it's at the end of a long dev cycle, but I'm sure it is.
Yeah. I mean, also,
and then not sell something, right? They have to generate money so that they're able to put food on the table or whatever. And at some level that's true. There's a whole complicated question of who's working and who's making the money, but what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and I mean, and I'm a working board game designer. I understand. You do need. The thing about publish or perish is you do need to publish.
Yeah, because otherwise you do the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
now,
yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I think that they should have in an ideal world they would have had the time and freedom to iterate on this, figure out that it kind of doesn't work, and then just not sell it for $100, because to be clear, that is realistically what this video game costs.
That's too much money.
Well, it is and it isn't, right? It's higher than AAA games traditionally have been, but there's an argument, I think a pretty reasonable argument, that AAA video games have sold for too little for a long time, that they're not the cost of them is not rising with the cost of other things around them, and that's a whole whatever. I'm not trying to get into that argument, but the point is it is a big expensive game, and it is a thing that's just kind of not. It's not delivering, and it's immediately not delivering. Oh wow, okay, she had 15 other units just sitting in the fog.
Okay, well that makes things a little interesting.
Interesting is strong. The AI is really bad at war. I'm sorry, buddy. I don't have any influence for you right now.
Yeah. So obviously I haven't seen Humankind yet, but in Humankind are the eras desynced for players, or is this not really a relevant question given the structure of that game?
The answer is somewhat. They are desynced somewhat. And I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't think it's relevant, and you'll see when we get there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's run you across here. Just flatten that guy. Get you out. I was not expecting the new unit from the city to spawn so far forward. Because I don't really want them all the way up here. For what I think are obvious reasons. Where do I want them to stand? Unfortunately, we don't have access to like medieval walls yet. I'm not sure where those are on the tech tree. It's somewhere around here, I'm sure. All of the part of the problem, one problem that this game has. Okay, castles give you medieval walls, so we're working on it. That's where I'm headed. All of the buildings, it's just like a circle with some white and gray bits in it. And it's like, I defy you to tell me from this picture what that building does. Or this one. Or that one. You know, you have to guess because it's like, well, it's on the shipbuilding building, so it's probably... Or the shipbuilding text, so it's probably about ships. But, like, divorced from that context, in a vacuum, like these circles, I don't know why they even bothered. This art is completely worthless. Is that a dungeon? Is that what a dungeon looks like? I don't think so. Anyway, sorry, that's a minor complaint. That's a different complaint. So we're working toward walls. We'll get walls up whenever. In the meantime, we'll try to play like pretty defensively here. I am gonna need to bring these units over probably. Because it does seem like we're not getting pushed from Copan. Okay, and we're producing quite a lot of money, so we'll continue to be able to buy out units periodically next turn, I think. I'm not very worried about this war. It's going to be annoying for a while. I'd really love to focus on their ranged if I can. You're out of movement there. That's a little awkward. All right. This turn we will do a focus fire in on that unit then. Got to make sure we're weakening their military units because they're infantry, because they do have a bonus versus our infantry. Even with the massive war weariness problem that she's suffering, you can see here she has a bonus from having a copy of iron. We have 2 copies of iron, but she has one. She has 5 points of extra combat strength on all of her units because of the game difficulty I set it on. And then she also has poison, which is a thing. I don't remember where poison comes from, but it's a thing you can get that just adds combat strength to your units, because they're not going to like implement a mechanic or anything, right? It's just going to be number go up.
That okay.
The combat's so abstract already. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I can't bring myself to be mad about it.
Why call it that if you're not gonna like do something? I need to care less.
I think I'm just gonna fortify up and make them come and get it, and then we'll do a little fighting retreat here for a bit. So I have to say I'm pretty impressed at how bad this area is as far as resources go. Like, there's no treasure resources anywhere in this band of islands. So I'm continuing to move over. There's another landmass over here. Let's see if we can't find some place where this settler can actually get some treasure fleets going. And it looks like this is under control now. We're all good on this side. It's a little annoying that all the barbarians showed up at exactly the same moment as the war declaration. Stretched our resources just a tiny little bit. This independent will stop producing Well, not only will they stop producing hostile units in 2 turns, but all their existing units will no longer be hostile. But there's still another one out there, which is why I felt it was necessary to make the land unit. So yeah, we're gonna be okay on that front. So yeah, like you said, I just wanted to do an episode here at the start. We didn't get to actually see any treasure fleets because it takes a remarkable amount of time, it turns out, to get the first ones to generate. But hopefully you have an idea of how that's going to work. Like,
Yeah.
every X turns, it'll pop one out, and then we got to get them back to our port safely and unload the whatever and get the points. As things stand right now, we're not really anywhere on any of these legacy paths. We have 1 relic. We don't have any treasure fleets delivered yet. We have 1 settlement on the other continent. We're gonna do more on that. And eventually, you start to get your new buildings built in, and you start to see your yields in your districts go up and whatnot. Like, have 5 districts producing 40 total yield, just 40 resources of any kind in total. It's not that bad. You get there. Right now we are in fact leading on legacy points. This is last era's legacy points though, right? The 9? I guess it's counting
Yeah.
legacy points earned from the beginning of the game. Weird. Look at that. They justified it though. They fixed this menu.
Okay, yeah, they have.
And I don't know if you noticed, they like a lot of the dialogue boxes have like borders on them now and stuff. They have been patching. They have been patching to get it to a place that, like, not a place where it looks good, but a place where it looks like they meant to show it to other people, which is something, I guess. So I think we're just going to call it here for right now.
Okay.
That's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. It continues. We're gonna hop ahead. The next episode is going to be at the end of this era. I'm gonna bring us in right before the transition point into the final age, and then we'll see the beginning of that. So yeah, come back next time for that. The modernity. Come back next time for modernity, and we'll see you then.